Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you do have a community, and you are never, ever, ever alone, ever. And, around here on Invisible Condition, we get it. We know that life can be tough sometimes. 7 brain surgeries behind me. I know things can get tough. We also know that there is always hope, always hope. And so that's where we choose to operate. We operate in a world of hope. Join us, won't you? It's a beautiful place to be. So hope is a beautiful thing. So I wanted to touch base on a couple quick things before we bring our guest on today. And that is, number one, for those of you who don't know, the nonprofit side of Invisible Condition, it's called Hydro with Hope. And Hydro with Hope supports individuals and families that live with a condition called hydrocephalus, which is the condition I was born with, which has resulted in those 7 brain surgeries, 15 surgeries overall, but only 7 brain surgeries. And it can, as you can imagine, it can get a little dicey. It can get a little exciting, a little bit unpredictable with this condition. And so we want to support those families and those individuals. And we do that through several resources. And, we're growing at a pace now that we're running out of money to do the amount of things that we want to do. And so we've expanded our board, and we're moving forward with like a freight train, baby. We're cruising forward. We still would love more help. If you or somebody would love to be part of that, and go to hydrowithhope.com and check out our mission, check out our website, check out our material, what we have to offer. If it strikes you as something that you would like to be a part of, please send me an email at this address right here and let me know, because I think it'd be awesome to have a conversation on the same page here. Advertisers and sponsors, if you love what we're doing on Invisible Condition and you identify with our purpose and love what we're doing, love our guests and all that stuff, and you've seen other sponsors and other commercials on our show, and you're like, hey, that sounds like a good idea, I'd love to talk to you too. So shoot me an email and let's have a conversation. Now let's talk about our guest. As I feel like I've been choked all day. Here I'm clearing my throat all the time. Vanessa Abrams is our guest today. And her life took kind of an unexpected turn in 2019 when she experienced sudden onset paralysis due to Guillain. I'm not going to pronounce that right. Is it? I'm going to let her pronounce it. I'm gonna let her pronounce it. It's a condition that I don't want to butcher, but as someone who has trained to work with patients in the ICU, Vanessa never expected that something like this would rock her world and she'd become a patient, with physical, speech, and other things that she just couldn't do anymore at the time. Now Vanessa is a speech language of course I screw that up while I trip over the words when I'm saying this. Speech language pathologist, an author, a mother, and now speaker who is dedicated to helping individuals recover from traumatic events, neurological disabilities, and speech or cognitive impairments, which I love because honestly, over my lifetime, I've gone through all of that. So I think this is great. She is the founder of a specialized practice that offers innovative therapies, including the Neubie, which is a direct current electrical stimulation device that we might talk about that. And so that's to support physical and neurological healing. So which is so important when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, all right, let's bring Vanessa on the show. If I can hit the right button. There we go. There she is. All right. Welcome, Vanessa. Thank you so much for being here. Let me get our names back up here so we look like we know what we're doing. All right. Thank you for being here. Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Absolutely. This is going to be fun. This is going to be an awesome show, and I hope that you out there in the audience will learn something. And by the way, wherever you're learning from, listen to me, wherever you're watching from, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, E360, Apple TV, Roku, whatever, wherever you are, thank you for being here. And if you happen to be watching on Facebook or YouTube, drop a comment in there. If something that Vanessa says, you're like, oh, light bulb, or I got to talk to her about that. Drop a comment in there, and we can get back to you during the show, after the show, or this is her website. Scan the QR code, and you'll go right to her website. And what are people going to find there? What can they can contact you through there? Yes.
Absolutely. They'll find out all about me and my medical journey as a speech pathologist and why I do what I do now. My website does have information on my book Speechless that I recently launched about 6 months ago. But it also talks about my medical journey. Everything from being the patient in the bed, not being able to communicate, to learning to communicate again, using all modalities of communication, to learning to walk again, move my body again, swallow food. I was tube fed. So my website has all sorts of information. And hopefully, most importantly, it just is a website that people can go to find hope. Same thing with my book.
I love that. And actually that you didn't know this, but you are actually segueing perfectly into the first question that I always ask every guest, because I always like to know the answer, because it kind of sets us up for a good time today, a good time of conversation. In the thick of the craziest of the time, the worst of what you've gone through. I mean, just the little bit that we've heard already, we're going to dive into it here, but it's been rough. You've had some rough times. In the darkest of those times, how did you still maintain hope?
The big thing for me, Jeff, always has been support groups, community.
Nice.
That has been the biggest part for me. Every time anybody asks me that question, that's my one go-to. That's been my place where I go to when I'm feeling alone, when I'm feeling, am I the only person out there with this disease? Am I the only person that's depressed? Am I the only one that feels like I've lost my identity? Am I the only one that's severely anxious? I lean on my community. I lean on my support groups, my ICU support groups, for the thing called post-intensive care syndrome that I suffer for, and many ICU survivors do. This is something that as a speech pathologist, I was never aware of. Mm-hmm. And I go to my support groups because I know that they understand the PICS, the post-intensive care syndrome, and the PTSD that we suffer from. So that's my big one.
Man, and did we have a conversation before we got on the, like our initial call that we had, like when we met, you and I definitely are on the same page with a lot of that. I mean, you've been through a heck of a lot of stuff that is justifiably, PTSD and so have I. I mean, anybody that's had any number of surgeries or been in the medical world for very long as a patient, if you don't develop some form of PTSD, congratulations, by the way.
Right.
Honestly.
Right.
So yeah, it's not an uncommon thing, which is why this is so important and why we're talking about this today. So bring us back to that time where you were in the, with the paralysis and with all the things that were going on, and kind of start us off there.
Yeah. So like you said in the intro, it started in 2019. And within a week's time, I went from this healthy, vibrant speech pathologist working way too much, doing too much of the mom stuff probably, and just leading, unfortunately, a little stressful life. And within a week's time, just pretty much paralysis, upper body paralysis, eventually, word finding here, intubated. Oof. And within the first ICU room, all within a week's time. And I just kept declining, keep getting worse. They didn't know what was going on. All they knew at this time is, hey, she's not in good shape right now, and she keeps getting worse. Just fast forward, I was using, during this time period as a speech pathologist, I work with kids with severe communication needs. Sometimes they use iPads to communicate. Sometimes they use keyboards or typing alphabet boards, text to speech. And in worst case scenarios, we'll have kids that are completely locked in or unable to move, paralyzed like I was, and they use their eyes to communicate. Well, as a speech pathologist, I have done all of that.
Yeah.
I've been at the point where I was unable to move any fingers to be able to type. So I was using eyes to communicate. It was surreal. So that all happened in the ICU. As speech pathologists, we also work on voice and swallowing. Well, I couldn't talk because I was intubated and eventually a tracheostomy. But I also suffered from the way that my disorder, which is called Guillain-Barré, by the way.
There it is. Thank you. I looked at that. I know we talked about that on the initial call too, and you told me what it was, but I looked at the word and my brain just fell out of my head.
Jeff, do not feel bad because I promise you, I used to call it Guillain-Barré.
Yeah.
I am guilty. Yeah. It was always Guillain-Barré whenever I heard about it or read about it in a textbook as a speech pathologist. And then I got it. You know what I mean? I got it. And then I go, oh, I've been saying it wrong all this time.
Say it again.
Guillain-Barré.
There it is. Okay. All right.
And my variant is so severely rare, Jeff.
Yeah.
It's like the one in a bazillion. Like Guillain-Barré is fairly rare, but mine, usually your feet are paralyzed and it ascends upward. Well, mine went the exact opposite.
Wow.
Yes. So my variant is called the PCB variant. So pharyngeal cervical brachial. No one's ever heard about it. I even went to the GBS Foundation and asked them about it, and nobody ever responded. Nobody ever called me back. Yeah. So I made a Facebook page too, the PCB variant of Guillain-Barré. You know how many followers I have?
What? How many?
In 6 years. It's been 6 years. Nobody's. So I'm kind of fighting and navigating this disability on my own because nobody's ever heard of it. So back to your question about like, where did this all start and my journey? I was in the ICU for about a month where I had to learn to talk and walk again. And I was able to walk, but just not very far, but just move my fingers, move my arms. Also learned to swallow again. I had a lot of modified barium swallow studies, all of which I failed because my swallowing muscles were so severely compromised. Eventually, I got a little bit stronger in the ICU and I was able to go to an LTAC, a long-term care, acute care. Was there a couple weeks where I was eventually, the tracheostomy was removed. I was making progress, but miles from where I was. And then I went to a final rehab facility for another 2 weeks where I just did PT/OT speech. It was a wild and awfully depressing ride. But I have to say the depression didn't really hit in until I got home. I walked through those doors of my home where 2 months previously I was the vibrant, healthy mom going to work and doing my thing and making meals for myself and getting myself in and out of the bathroom and in and out of the shower and driving. Then I come home and I can't do any of that.
Yeah.
My identity, I know, Jeff, you and I have talked about this. My identity was stripped from me.
Yes.
I had to rely on my husband to tube feed me. I couldn't even get in the shower. My friends were coming over washing my hair. It was humiliating. It was isolating.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And then eventually everybody else's life kind of goes back to normal and there you are.
Right. Well, it's kind of like the thing that I think about when I hear a story like this is kind of like when you have a baby, right? You have a baby and everybody, you go, whether you have the baby at home or have it at a birthing center or hospital, wherever, there's always like that event and everybody comes and celebrates, woo, new baby. And they help you for a couple of weeks and they're like, oh yeah, let's help mom. Let's hold the baby. Let's do the dishes. And then eventually that all wears off and everybody goes away and you're all by yourself again. And that's when it really hits you. Right.
Yep. It's scary. It's isolating. You're thinking, well, now what do I do? Now everybody else has gone back to work. They're living their life and I can't drive.
Right.
I can't get off the couch and go make a meal. I can't get to my therapy appointments. You become so dependent on other people, and then you feel like you're just a burden, because here I am, like 2 months ago, I could do all this on my own, and now I've got to call people to take a shower. What? I don't want to call my friends. Hey, can you come wash my hair? So my hair was gross. And as a woman, it's like, oh, I want to wash my hair, but I don't want to go and bother someone to come wash my hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, and just for those who don't know, I mean, so Guillain-Barré syndrome is not something that probably most people out there. I mean, I had never heard of it. I had never heard of it before. I had no experience with anybody that I've never known anybody with it. Just talk about a little bit like generally, you've told us some of your symptoms. Like, what is that? What happens with Guillain-Barré?
So what it is, it's a demyelinating nerve disorder. So the nerve has this myelin sheath over it, and it conducts electrical impulses. Well, with Guillain-Barré, those electrical impulses are no longer firing. So I couldn't lift my arms. Oof. I couldn't move my fingertips. I couldn't swallow, because those nerves innervating all these beautiful muscles used for swallowing and talking, that impulse was not there. So when I would swallow food, what would it do? It would just get caught or go down the wrong pipe.
Oof.
And it was just a tragic mess. I probably had 3 or 4 modified barium swallow studies, and that's where they do the video fluoroscopy of watching your swallow. And that was pretty heartbreaking for the speech pathologist, looking down at me as a patient in the chair in the bed, saying, I'm sorry, you can't be eating. You got to keep tube feeding and keep doing these exercises, which led me nowhere. But boy, was that hard. When I woke up and I looked up and I saw speech pathologist, I'll never forget it. She had like the little name badge, and it said her name, and it said speech language pathologist. I thought, oh God, no, wake me up. This is not my life.
Wait, this is what I do. Why am I? What is happening right now?
Yes, I went to grad school to be the person in the white coat, not the one in the bed. And what are all these tubes on me? Why do I have all these tubes? Why do I have this? Yeah, and then you mix all that fear with all the medication that you're on. And I talk about in my book a lot about the hallucinations. And when I was being moved from one ICU to the other ICU, the things that I was seeing, and I go into greater detail in this in my book, Speechless, but I thought they dropped me off when the ambulance pulled up and put me into the second ICU. I was convinced, Jeff, that this was an empty warehouse, like a big Costco type warehouse.
Whoa.
And I was convinced that I was laying there naked and they were harvesting my organs and cutting me open. In my head, I was thinking, in my head, I was thinking, okay, this is the end. They're taking my organs. They're going to donate me. I'm an organ donor. This is the end.
Ooh.
But that was all the medication. It was just making me crazy. And then I wake up the next day, and I talk about this in my book, but the ICU, there was bars on the windows. Well, I thought, okay, I'm alive, but I'm in jail.
Yeah. Right. Oh, man.
The medication was just making me crazy. So, you talk about all the anxiety and the fear and on top of hallucinations, and I'm dying. They're cutting me open. I'm in jail.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. Look, I feel like we could keep going for a while here, but I feel like this is a good place for a break. I want to encourage everybody that's watching, though, stick around. Clearly there's more to the story here, and you don't want to miss it. And by the way, anybody that is watching on either of these, if you haven't come up with a question or haven't been like spurred to reach out to Vanessa yet, you probably haven't been watching very carefully. So get those questions going in there, and throw out comments, and just interact with us here, and contact Vanessa, because this is an amazing story, and I can't wait for you to hear the rest of it. And no matter where you're watching, so stick around, don't go anywhere. and we'll see you in just a couple of minutes.
Hey there. You know, every time someone comes into your business or website and uses their card to pay, a percentage of that gets folded back into the system. But it can go to Hydro with Hope instead. If you'd like your business to support us rather than feed back into the system, scan the QR code and we'll show you how to do that while saving your business money.
Hey everybody, Craig Tomanini here, founder and CEO of Ask Craig T, and I wanted to do a quick reminder about our podcast every Friday, 9 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. You can find us on YouTube and on all of our social media platforms, so be sure you tune in. Don't miss all the valuable information we're going to give you about how to scale your business using technology.
Hey everyone, Coach Greg here from Living Empowered TV, where we help women live empowered lives through amazing guests, life hacks, mental, physical, and emotional health. See us on the Achieve Network, 12 o'clock Wednesdays Pacific time on E360 TV. Don't miss out.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for seeing the first. If you were here for the first segment, you're probably saying, "Well, come on, where's the rest of the story? That was great. There was some good stuff in there." That is you, Vanessa, have been through a lot. That's that just in the first segment, man. You've blown me away with everything that you've been through, and you and I have some similarities on some of that. I mean, did you ever, by the way, did you ever have to, did they give you that lovely thing called an NG tube? Did you get to experience one of those too?
Oh, I've had it all, Jeff. It started with the NG tube and then the PEG tube. And I don't know about you, but the nausea with the NG tube, that was fun. Oof.
Yeah. I've only had one a couple times, but it's, I tell people, for those who don't know what that is, I'm not going to describe it to you because I don't want to lose. I don't want you to lose your breakfast, but if you want to look it up, look it up. But I'll tell you what, I kind of say tongue in cheek that it could be used as a medieval torture device. If you want somebody to get information out of somebody, just get one of those in there and they'll tell you anything you want to know. It is terrible. So
I'll never forget the first time I realized that I had that in, because like I said before, I was so sedated and there was so many hallucinations going on. But I remember when I finally was able to kind of like lift my arm just a little bit. Yep. I wasn't able to like fully extend it, but just at least bring my hand to my face. But again, I was covered in tubes. So it was really hard. Every time I did try to move my hands or anything, it was just tubes. But I remember going and thinking, what on earth? I wasn't in my right frame of mind. I couldn't figure it out. And then I put 2 and 2 together, and then the nausea and like, oh, this is horrible. But then to me, that got removed because that was in too long and they wanted to remove it because it was getting infected. So then they decided, oh, let's do the PEG tube route. Well, Jeff, I kid you not, they told me that the PEG tube surgery, oh, you won't have any pain. The pain with, this is just my personal story. Everybody has a different story, right? But that pain of the PEG tube surgery was greater than childbirth.
Oh, wow.
I had a natural childbirth, and that pain required Dilaudid. Yes, the pain was that bad having. So looking back, I went, the NG tube wasn't real pleasurable, but that pain associated with the PEG tube for that surgical procedure. Ugh.
Yeah. I tell you, people like you and I and so many others out there that have been through stuff like this, that have been through the surgeries, been through the crazy stuff that they're shoving in your face and all the different things. We have I say it us all the time. There's a comedy routine by one of my favorite comedians ever, and he talks about being in the emergency room and the pain level thing, the pain level, like, what, how do you rate your pain? 1 to 10, whatever. Our 1 to 10 scale is different than most people's 1 to 10 scales. Like our 2 is most people's 8s. You know what I'm saying? Like it's ridiculous because you build up a tolerance to that, right?
Your perspective changes too. Like,
yep.
I look at some little injuries and I think, oh, that's a 1.
Right.
Try learning to talk again with this thing called a Passy-Muir valve on your tracheostomy.
Yeah.
Try going, that for me, because of the nature of my nerve disorder, was harder again than childbirth. Like I gave birth to a child, and that I do that 10 times more before I ever learned to just vocalize again with a tracheostomy. That,
I mean, that's insane. I've never had to do that, so I can't. But no, thank you.
But you've had your own journeys that are different than mine, but equally as challenging and equally as depressing and equally as isolating.
Yeah.
All of these disabilities, doesn't matter what you're going through. We all go through, like you said too at the beginning, the PTSD, the anxiety, going back to doctor's appointments. I know you go through this too.
Yeah.
Walking back through the doors to a neurologist office, or even logging into a virtual Zoom appointment, it's like anxiety, like you're sweating. For me, when I got out of the ICU and I had to go back, and I go over this in greater detail in my book, Speechless, but I was throwing up, vomiting in the parking lot. I was so scared to go back into that office. I was convinced, Jeff, that if I go back in that office, she's going to tell me I have an inoperable brain tumor. I'm done.
Right. Yeah. What's next? Right.
Yes. Your mind automatically goes down that rabbit hole that this is the end of my life. They're going to give me some diagnosis because, wow, I already just had the worst diagnosis I could ever imagine.
Right.
Just 2 months ago, I was fine. And now all of a sudden I've got this. So what's preventing this neurologist from saying, Vanessa, now you don't have Guillain-Barré, you have Guillain-Barré and this life-threatening disease, you have 3 months to live and a child at home.
I mean, I remember, it's been 3 years since my last brain surgery. It was in October of 2021, but about, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, maybe about that time, my mother-in-law had to go into the hospital for something that was going on. She wasn't sure what was going on. She was really, some stuff going on that was really unusual. So they went to the ERs, they checked her into the hospital for a night, and she stayed overnight. And we, and my wife and I and our kids, like, let's go visit grandma and grandpa, let's go visit grandma in the hospital. Just that experience alone, just visiting her in her room, walking through the hospital. Like I came home and I was a mess for the rest of the afternoon. It was crazy. It affected me so much, and I didn't think it would. But it's so profound that experience can traumatize you that much. Just being inside a hospital again.
I'm not surprised at all that happened with you. To me, that would be a normal reaction. When I talking to somebody like you that has gone through what you have, I wouldn't expect anything different from you to have that. Somebody else that hasn't been in through the ICU and had the medical journey that you and I have, that would be a little bit different. But
sure,
to me, that's a normal reaction. And anybody that's been through that, I would say, going back into a hospital setting, putting on a hospital gown whenever I go anywhere and they say, put on this hospital gown.
Not even for a checkup. I hate that. Yeah. Or going in for like a follow-up MRI or follow-up whatever. Yeah.
Going into the dentist where they put the tubes in your mouth and they're suctioning. Well, I had so much suctioning because of the tracheostomy. So having them dig around in my teeth and all of that.
Yeah. The NG tube caused me to I wouldn't let anybody put anything in my mouth after that, man. I was like, nope, don't even, not going there.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm with you.
And again, that's totally normal. I wouldn't expect
Crazy.
you to
Yeah,
say, I
yeah.
love the dentist. I love going to doctor appointments.
I mean, sure. Who does that?
And you know what? I think that doctors, dentists, medical professionals of all should be taking into consideration post-intensive care syndrome, PICS, and looking at our charts and saying, wow, Vanessa has been in the ICU. She may be having a little bit of anxiety today coming into this appointment. Jeff has had this surgery, this surgery, this surgery. And you know what?
Right.
He may not feel really, really at ease in this appointment. So kind of having a little bit of insight and
compassion, maybe.
Yes, and treating us differently, knowing that, wow, a month-long stay in an ICU is bound to produce a little bit of anxiety, reliving these conversations, and even just
right.
going back to and having the conversation with a new doctor saying, oh, when they want your medical history. Well, have you had any past surgical procedures, or have you been hospitalized?
How long have you got, Doc?
Yes. And
how long is our appointment? Because
I just checked the box. Yes.
Yeah.
Because I really want to go into great detail and say, well, I was paralyzed. I'm a speech pathologist. I used eye gaze. I couldn't move my fingers. I had to learn to talk again. I was so suicidal. I wanted to die.
I almost stop filling that stuff out. Like I'm just like, you want to know? Just ask me. I don't want to write it all out right now.
Yeah, and it takes energy to relive it. And then, do I really want to just sit around the dinner table and say, "Hey, by the way, here's my life story"? I don't want to.
Right.
Sometimes it's nice to not have to have that conversation again.
I mean, I even got to the point that I would, and I wrote this. I did this for multiple reasons, but I actually created a document in my notes app on my phone, and I listed out. I just listed out all the surgeries, every single surgery I've had since the first brain surgery I had at 2 weeks old, all the way through all the rest of them, going all the way till the last one I had in 2022. And it's a list, man. Yeah. And I listed and put little icons with it so that when people say, what's your surgical history? I can just hand them the phone and go, here you go. Look it up. If you want more details, it's all in the records. Go, Yeah. And so sometimes you just got to do that, because otherwise your hands cramping up from all the writing of all the things.
And some of us, and this is me too, sometimes talking about it again, going to another medical professional, like I start getting choked up, crying, and then the depression sets in, and I'm like, I don't need to be going down that route.
No.
I'm working so hard at the mental side of recovering from PICS that I don't want to keep like, okay, I was a speech pathologist and I worked with kids with communication devices. And then, then I was thrown into that mix. And that brings up a whole nother conversation, Jeff, is that for me, going back into the working world, which I'm back working now.
Yeah.
I had about a year off.
All right.
But for me to go back in the working world as a speech pathologist, how that was a trigger.
Sure.
Because I was going back in, reading people's medical histories and talking to families about their own children's medical journeys and how they use text-to-speech. I'm like, oh, I use that too. I know what that's like.
Yeah.
I know what it's like to watch my husband be a caregiver. I see my students' parents being caregivers, and I know the emotional toll it takes as a caregiver, because I watched my own husband go through that. So there's a lot of just triggers, I guess is right. The word I'm trying to bring up is that we're throwing triggers all the time that we have to learn to navigate and manage. And that's not easy.
No, it's not. And it's true. And my wife could relate to your husband too. I mean, she's an amazing caregiver, and she has done such an amazing job over the last 10, 12 years, because she didn't know what she was getting into. She knew I had surgeries in the past, and I had this condition, I had this device, whatever in my head, and I might have to have it replaced eventually. But, we were married 14 years before she ever saw me firsthand in that situation of emergency surgery, and so I give the caregivers in your life huge credit, because especially, I mean, they don't see that coming usually. It comes out of the blue for us. Imagine what they're thinking, and so yeah, hats off to every caregiver out there, no matter what role you played in whatever. It's a big deal. So
Yeah, it's not anything, you nailed it. It's not anything that they've ever planned on. Just like me, like I never planned on being a speech pathologist that couldn't communicate, that was tube fed. And but my husband, yeah, he was just like me, working full time up until that day. And then he had to take 6 months off. He wasn't planning on ever. When he said, I do, he didn't mean I do want to tube feed you. I do want to help you in and out of the shower. He never planned on that, but it gives a whole new meaning to in sickness and in health.
Yep.
And he never envisioned that he would be following behind my ambulance as I go to ICU.
Right. Yeah.
But that's real for the caregiver. They're going through loss of identity too.
That is when you, and for you and for your caregiver. I mean, when my wife and I speak at conferences and stuff, she because we speak together sometimes, and we'll give both perspectives, and that's part of what she talks about is, this is what my life looked like when we got married. This is the first 14 years of my life with, married to Jeff. And then everything hit the fan, and it had to take a different turn, and we didn't plan on that. But this is what we adapted to, because you have to. You launch and adjust. It's constant thing. And it's a huge adjustment for her, just like it was for your husband. So
I love the fact that you guys both speak about that together. That's really good. That's probably healing for both of you too.
Right. Yeah. Telling the story, the more you tell the story and the more you are able to give people hope in that way. And it's not about telling people about my history of everything that's been going on to make them, I don't want anybody feeling sorry for me. Please throw that out the window. I am here because of a lot of things that we have chosen to do and advocate for ourselves, so that we could land where we are now. And so I want people to come out with hope, not with sympathy.
Yeah, that's exactly why I wrote the book, Jeff, because I remember when I was laying there in the bed, even when I came home and was laying in the bed, I was so profoundly depressed, felt so alone, that I thought, why, if this is going to be my life now, I'm going to be the mom that's paralyzed, tube fed, unable to drive her daughter around. I don't want to live. Why did they not pull me off life support? Get me out of here. And part of the healing journey for me was writing the book. And now I've connected with so many people. My community is growing even more because of the book.
Nice.
Because there's people that are reading it and saying, wow, you overcame this. You really, and they are learning strategies to overcome it. And the importance of community. My book also, and it's a goosebumpy moment. You can't really see my goosebumps right now, but it talks about the medical community that came through for me, and my doctor, how he wrote the foreword in the book and why he wrote the foreword. I don't want to spoil it, but he is a really, really big part of my medical journey as well.
Love it.
And it goes into, once you read the book, you'll understand why I had him write the foreword. But the medical community that came through and what they did for me in the ICU to help me navigate some of that depression as being a mom. They knew that, wow, this is a woman that clearly wants to be a mom. They decorated my room, the wall in front of my ICU bed. It had all pictures of my family on it. The doctors would walk in, and I couldn't talk, Jeff, but I would go like this, like the iron fist. And I would go like, give him this fist, and I would point.
Yeah.
And I would give him this face like, darn it, I am fighting, and I'm fighting for that family up there.
That's right.
And it's a teary moment for me, and my doctor that's in that book that wrote the foreword was there by my side, and he helped my husband decorate that wall because they knew that what's going to get this woman home is her family.
Yep.
But that's like huge that the medical professionals that were on my team
Yeah.
saw that, realized that, because a lot of people don't. I went to another, I don't want to go into greater detail on this, but I went into another care facility, and this is in the book, how the care went downhill significantly, to the point that I thought, I don't know if I'm going to live through this. It was that bad. And going from one place that was so exceptionally good to the next place where they were like, didn't even really want to decorate my room. My husband wanted to decorate the room because he knew that that was my motivation to get well.
Yeah.
But yeah, circling back to the book and hope, and giving people that hope that it can get better. Yes, this has been a devastating loss, just like I went through that devastating loss. But there can be hope at the end of the tunnel. The people that I have met, you included, that have transformed my life and just brings me hope too, that I am using my story to do good in this world. And if I can prevent someone else from going down that dark, dark hole that I was in, and, potentially committing suicide, that's real.
Right. It is. Yeah.
It is very real. And unfortunately, medical ICU is not, or medical PTSD is not really looked at. They look at you and they think, I don't know if you experienced this, Jeff, but something I did is, you survived. Wow. Be grateful. Like, wow, you did this, which is, yes, we did survive. But now we've got this to deal with, or that to deal with. And yes, I'm glad I've survived. I'm grateful for my team. But the PTSD, the anxiety associated with what we now live with, is not being given the credit it should be.
No, it's true. And I kind of want to touch on that a little bit after we come back from our last break. We're going to go to a short break one more time. And then I kind of want to continue that, because it's a big deal. And I think not enough people think about that. More people need to have that in their mind, especially like if they're bringing even if they're bringing like a relative to the hospital, or they're like visiting somebody in the hospital, like to be sensitive to that, because it's a big deal. So let's do that. We'll hit one more break here, short break. And then please come back and join us again at the end of after the break, because there's more to the story, and this is important. Anybody that's ever had a relative or a loved one or a friend or themselves in the hospital, this is going to be important. So stick around, and we will see you in just a second.
Hi, I'm Jake, co-founder and CEO of One Hope. My friends and I started this company in 2007 out of the back of this truck on a mission to enrich people's lives through wine. Today, we've grown into a state-of-the-art Napa Valley winery that proudly houses a portfolio of award-winning wines which have touched lives through over 40,000 nonprofits at home and around the globe. And it's happening every day. Being rooted in local communities and contributing to initiatives that uplift neighborhoods, celebrate cultures, and promote community. It's what got us here. You see, through every bottle sold, your purchase can make a direct impact on the causes you care about. One Hope's cause of choice has given back over $10 million and counting.
Hi, I'm Sarah Stockham, and I'm host of Simply Sarah. Join me Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific on the Achieve TV network for the best energetic tools to elevate your amazing life right here on E360 TV.
Welcome back, everybody. We're at the last segment already. It's crazy. Time flies when you're having fun and hearing amazing stories. I wanted to ask you, or just say something that I thought would be important, and maybe you can relate to this. I'm sure you can. I came back from 4 brain surgeries between 2014 and 2021, and every one of them I would come back after recovery and all that stuff, and this one particular time in 2021, the most recent one I came back to work, and the person that I'd seen this guy around. I used to work at a school, and the guy that was at the school, he would stop by every week to do a certain thing, sign checks or whatever he was doing, some office work that he was doing, and he would see me and he'd go, oh, you're back. And he knew I had been in the hospital. He's like, oh, you're back. So you're good now. You're all set. You're good to go now. You're all better. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm still alive now. I mean, I went to the hospital. If I hadn't gone to the hospital, I wouldn't be alive. So I'm still here. But I still have things going on that you can't see, couldn't imagine, that are under the surface right now that I don't have time and you don't have bandwidth to absorb. If I told you, you wouldn't believe me. So I think that perspective is huge. And I think if we can get people to understand that a little bit more, with people, anybody in your life that's ever been through anything in the hospital could be traumatized by it. Everybody's different. So you never know what's going to trigger that, So
It's the concept of the invisible disabilities.
Right.
PICS, post-intensive care syndrome, PTSD, all of that type of those anxiety, those are all invisible disabilities. You can't see them, and they're real. They are real. And yeah, you're right. People think you're fine. Like, you got out of the ICU, you're walking, you don't have a wheelchair, a walker, or for me, a tube hanging out of my stomach for tube feeding. You're good. It's like, no, I'm not, but I'm doing better, and I'm, a mom, and I'm back to work, and a wife, and I'm doing the best I can. But something else that's really important, though, is the family members, the PICS family, PICS family, post-intensive care family. That's another real thing, that the family members often have invisible disabilities with sound, sights, smells, things that may trigger them as well when your loved ones, you or I, are in the ICU setting. They could even also be going through some fears and anxieties of, ooh, what if this comes back? For me, what if this comes back? What if I get it again? What if I relapse? Or not, even worse, what if I relapse and get something else? Well, the family could be thinking that too. What if Jeff's condition comes back and then it's terminal? We can't operate. We can't. Those thoughts go through their minds as well. So that's something to be taken into consideration. And counseling therapy groups, support groups, PICS support groups are something that I go to still to this day. It's 6 years.
Yeah.
But that's so important. Everybody needs their community.
It's true. And it's so funny. You said it doesn't just affect you, it affects your family. And I actually there was a show that we did in, I can't remember what season it was. It might've been season 1 or 2. I'm trying to remember, but when my wife and my oldest daughter, our oldest daughter is 21 now, but she was about, I don't know, what was that, 10, 11 years ago. So she was like, I don't know, 12, 11, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. And watching Dad ride off in an ambulance, watching Dad bent over in pain and not being able to stand up and writhing on the floor until the ambulance got there, and seeing him in the hospital when they came to visit during those times. And like the younger two, we've got 3 kids, and the oldest is the one that was and she was on the show with my wife talking about that experience, because and I felt like that was such an important thing to do, because talking about it, the more you talk about it, the more you tell people about it and share the story, the easier it is to hear it yourself, and the less impact it has, or potentially, I should say.
Yeah, and it's important to take into consideration too, our kids that see us go through this. My child was much younger than yours. Mine was 3.
Oof.
So she doesn't really have a lot of memories, but the older they get, they see things, they experience it. And those are adverse childhood experiences. They were probably very scared. Is dad going to die? Is this the last time I'm going to see him? Is he going to come out of this surgery? And that's very traumatizing for young children. I work with young children, and children's mental health is something that I'm very, very passionate about now. That's something that's really shifted with me as a speech pathologist, is always looking at mental health in everyone, because the kids see their parents go through it, or the kids are in the ICU, or they see their parents go through the ICU or through a surgical procedure or procedures. The husbands, the wives, the parents, like my parents, them watching me go through what I've gone through.
Yeah.
It's all very traumatizing. And for little kids, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, where your children were, that can be very traumatizing for them. And that's an adverse childhood experience. And when you're not addressing adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, with kids, they can grow up to have health impairments, all sorts of mental health, physical, you name it. So that's real. So sometimes kids need to have, therapy and support groups to kind of process some of that, because that's real. And young kids don't have the words to put to it. They just, all they know is that something traumatizing is happening to dad. He's in a lot of pain. He's in and out of doctor's appointments. Mom's really stressed. Mom's scared. The kids could be going to daycares or to loved one's house and sleeping there because, that was my daughter's situation, where she went to my parents' house for a long period of time. But all of that it's just real. It really needs to be talked about more, and people need to be educated and more aware of that.
I agree 100%. Well, I tell you what, I wish we had another hour, but we're almost out of time. Man. God, I hope you out there have a new understanding of a lot of this stuff, because this is a real thing. And no matter where you're watching, if anything that we said, or that Vanessa or I said today, please reach out, or scan this QR code and go and get in touch with Vanessa, because we're doing this because we want to help. So, Vanessa, thank you so much for being here, and for being here and doing this show and getting this out to our audience. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jeff. Thank you. I just want to give everybody hope, just like you. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my story and give other people hope.
Thank you. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. All right, everybody. That's awesome. I love stories like this, because she's doing something awesome now, in spite of it. And I love that. So for those of you that have been watching for a while, and you've been, this show's been on the air for over 2 years, and we're so thankful for all the guests and all the viewers, and just thank you so much for being here. We love you all, and we're so thankful for you. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or E360 or Apple TV or Roku or wherever you're watching, thank you. And subscribe, set those reminders so you'll, that's right, there's another episode coming up you can watch. And join us for our next episode, which is going to be Tuesday, July 22nd, for another incredible story. Looking forward to seeing you there. And thank you for being here. In the meantime, till we see you on the next show, have an amazing day. And we'll see you soon.